Do you have a business and you want to do some marketing, but you don't have a clue? Maybe you're a startup. Maybe you've been in business for a while. Maybe you're recovering from the recent pandemic and you're thinking, it's time to rip things up. People are working again. People are moving around again. But I don't know exactly how to go about improving business through marketing. So my friend, he's a great guy. He's hilarious. You're going to absolutely think he's the coolest. Is with me today to talk about how to improve your marketing for your business and how to brand yourself and your business and other things related to bringing more customers into you. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this because he's hilarious. I just love hanging out with this guy. If you watched any of my other podcasts or business YouTube videos, you'll know exactly who this guy is when you see him again. He's hysterical. He's actually a comedian. So I gave a secret away. Anyway, stay tuned. We're going to have some fun. Hi, I'm Honey Gregory. Welcome to my channel, Perpetual Learning, where we are continuously learning because we don't want to be dumb, right? We don't want to die stupid. So continuing learning always helps keep us above and beyond and providing excellence for ourselves and everybody else. And today I have an excellent guest that I want to introduce you guys to. He's amazing. I've known him for, I don't know, a decade, and he always blows my mind. He's a great friend. He's hilarious. He's a comedian. He's this marketing guru, an author, a professor, a podcaster, and he does amazing work on charities for autism and Down syndrome. And he's just fantastic. So welcome, Andrew Lambert.
Yay, thank you so much. Is this when all the special effects go off? You have all these sound effects and bells and whistles, or no, that doesn't
I
happen?
need some of that. I got to figure out how to do that. That'd be a great
All right,
idea.
I like that. So yes, it's good to be here, and it's amazing that you still like talking to me after a decade because you've also become a friend, but you were a client, and we've done web work together, and
Yep.
I haven't driven you out of the building yet, so that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Well, you're one of my favorite people. I mean, you really are. I mean, there are people in this world that you like, and there's people in this world that you do business with. And then there's people that you fortunately, like and do business with. And you're one of those people that I always know I can rely on. You're always professional. You're amazing. I say that about a lot of people, but I don't let people I don't think's amazing on here. So I always say that about my guests, like, because I mean, I only want amazing people on here because that's who I think can share their gifts and their stories and their information. So, I was saying that you do all these things. So give us a little background about yourself.
Great. Well, like you said, I'm Andrew Lambert. I'm president of Lambert Consulting.
Yeah. Are
It's
you
a
the
full
actor?
chat. What's
Are
that?
you the famous actor?
No, that's a famous singer named Adam Lambert. We'll get to that
Mm,
a little bit too.
okay.
I try to. I would not say I've tried my hand. I am a bad actor, and I'm proud of it. So I like being. If I'm going to act, I want to be in B-side movies where I can use humor more than talent to deflect. Yeah, I've been in advertising basically my whole life. Started my own company 13 years ago. We have two locations, one in the Midwest here in Bloomington, the one outside of Seattle. And I believe as an entrepreneur, you need to continuously learn. So that's why I like
Yep.
the idea and the premise of the show. But
Yeah.
I have been very fortunate in surrounding myself with other talented people. So as you mentioned, I've had a podcast that's in season 6 now called Mind Your Own Business, where I bring experts on of any background. It could be comedy. I've had directors. I've had Fortune 500 people, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of fun breaking it down to the human element. I wrote a book about going to college. Like you said, I'm a college professor, so I've taught for places like Hawaii Pacific University, Penn State, Indiana University, and most recently Southern New Hampshire University. I have a book that I try to get to families if I can, called Be the Line, to help them as they're sending their kid into freshman year, kind of what the expectations are. As far as I know, the market really never had a book like that. And like you said, I've worked with several nonprofits. I started the Monroe County Autism Foundation 15 years ago. I recently, in the last 2 years, have been asked to take over the VP role of Down Syndrome Family Connection to grow that. I also started a third charity called Creative Indiana about 10 years ago with a wonderful woman, brilliant woman named Lottie Terry, who has since passed. But that board is still going on and helping corporations learn how to like actually bring fun and creativity into the boardroom. So that was cool to be part of as well. And
Wow.
then in my free time, since I apparently don't like to sleep, if I'm not making money or making deals, I try to get on stage and tell jokes to strangers. People seem to enjoy it, and here we are today. So
Yeah, you're amazing. I swear, you just do so many things, and you got a good heart, and you're fun and funny, and every time I see you, you light me up and make me smile, and I always feel like it's a blessing. Um, and well, you're also in a funny little band too. You didn't bring
oh
that
yes.
part
Oh,
up.
I didn't even talk about the band,
Oh, I
which you
know.
you, you got roped into. So yeah, a few years ago, I met a gentleman who his name's Bob, and he actually is credited, believe it or not, he's credited if you go back into like the late 70s and early 80s of bringing kind of electronic synth music over to the US. It was very popular at that time in parts of Europe, especially Germany, Austria, that sort of thing. There was like this movement. And while some bands were trying to like understand the keyboards and the sound effects and everything, his mind was always like that. He was always in entertainment. He was a magician in the past. He's a
Wow.
mind reader. Like he should write a whole biography of just like the weird stuff he's done. He started creating this persona and had one or two people play, and actually that band did take off. But when you got into like the 90s and 2000s, synth music got essentially swallowed up, if you will, by electronic dance music. So
Mm.
he got out of it, but he was still selling his records and songs online. And then he came into my life through Creative Indiana, and I was just like, this guy is weird, but he's a cool cat. And we got to know each other. And he said, I have this idea. I kind of want to come out of retirement, but I don't want to come out as Bob because people know that there's an expectation, and I want to do stuff that's like a little more creative, a little more funny, a little more rock and roll. And so we came up with a band called The Way Far Out. And the way we worked around is we used the blueprints from the Blue Man Group, which is we each are costumed
Hmm.
in a way so that if something happened to one of us, we could bring another character in. So I don't want to give anything away, but
Right.
Belle and Honey was so nice to join us in a cameo of the mockumentary that should be coming out hopefully by the end of the year, because believe it or not, one of the board members wasn't able to fully participate, but because he was an alien that joined our groovy band back in the day, we just wrote in he's a shapeshifter, and
Yeah.
just like that,
Boom.
Honey's now, I guess, a part of the band. So
Well, I love it. I can't wait to see the film. It's going to be fantastic, and I loved working with you guys. You're amazing, both of you. Bob is awesome. His story is awesome. I'd love to have him on here as well
yeah.
because
Well,
he's
I
so
have to wait. Hold on. We
interesting.
have to give you credit because she's the only one that actually came from an acting background. Like I've been on stage and probably been on stage, but when you're performing comedy or music, it's not acting. It's a very different environment of how you practice. So she
Yeah.
showed up, and I say the set. It's like the basement of one of our friends' house, basically, where we're filming this thing because of budget. And she's like, "Hey, where's this Mark?" And I'm looking at her like, Mark, what do you? Oh, that's right. You actually have to stand somewhere for the camera guy to find it. Oh, you're gonna make this a joke, and you don't want to walk in front of her to block her out. So it was like you peeled back. I did some theater in high school. I never acted. I loved like the technical side of it, but more times than not, they need me to go stand in for somebody who was sick, and so it was this all way of time for me, which I really appreciated. So
It was,
you did great.
yeah, it was so much fun. I haven't been doing acting in many, many years, and
Yeah.
doing a little bit of this and that and here and there. And it's been a lot of fun, and it's kind of bringing things back, but I don't know how good I
Yeah.
am. I'm so rusty, but it was a lot of fun. And, it just shows how amazing you are. And in order to be um, in digital marketing, you have to be creative. I mean, it's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit like advertising, there's
Mm-hmm.
advertising components to it. And you have to have a creative mindset, not only a business entrepreneur mindset like you have, but you have to have a good creative mindset, which is, you do have that left right brain thing going on with both being able to be very analytical and put together plans for people's marketing, as well as the creative side of all the fun things that you do,
Mm-hmm.
and be creative for your clients, which I've seen, you do on many occasions. And you are funny. I mean, yeah, I agree. You're funny. So, traditionally, there's a couple different kinds of marketing. There's the traditional marketing and digital marketing. And you also mentioned branding and you do
Mhm,
consulting work as well. So, why
mhm.
don't you tell us a little bit about Andrew Lambert Consulting? It's an LLC, I think.
Yep,
And
yep,
that's your primary business right now.
yep.
And you just opened up a new location.
Mhm.
Now, can
Just
you help?
outside of Seattle.
Yeah. Can you help people all over the
Yeah, yeah.
continents,
I mean,
anywhere?
those are great questions because yeah, the short answer is where we're going with marketing right now. It's not always about having a local agency. Yeah, it's nice to have those people in your backyard.
Mhm.
We like to play with that, but let's say out of our Indiana office, we do represent 5 states. So we have clients in Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and I think Kentucky. I think those are the five. But we don't have to always be there because of technology we use, whether it's Zoom, phone
Yeah,
calls, text messages, and it's about getting the final product approved.
right.
For me, I tell people there's three silos of business that we succeed in. I started out in my basement, so let me tell the 30-second background story to set this up, which is
Okay.
in 2009, I had already won. I was working at and teaching at the local community college called IB Tech, and I had won at that point. I believe I was the only professor of business. Again, I don't have a PhD, not a research background, where I had won. It was the City of Bloomington Award. There was a regional award given to me. There was a state award and then a national award for outstanding teaching. And I was only there for like 7 years and won the gamut. So
Wow.
they had asked me to come over and work in a small business development center, which I was excited by because I could start to do the consulting I wanted to do. They brought in a great team. There was like 4 of us or 5 of us that ran the office, had a great boss. And after 1 year, this is like kind of May of '09 to basically May of 10, there was just a lot of infighting from the state level. And I'm not sure why, because they kept giving us awards. We kept making money. We were getting small businesses grants that were fully funded by invest. I mean, we were doing our job. And just like with a lot of things that happen when you get government involved, they eventually fired all of us. And I found
Mm.
this out because I actually got a call at 7 in the morning on like a Tuesday from one of my then clients who said, "Hey, you made the newspaper." So the only way I'm going to make the newspaper is if I got arrested. That's what my dad said, right? It was closed. I didn't get arrested. We were all named as basically fired employees in them, and it catapulted me into
Mm.
this just anger and frustration on behalf of our community and on behalf of the clients. These are people who were at just the base level of growth, and now they had nothing. Their
Mm.
foundation took apart. So after personally getting into a lot of arguments with the powers that be, I just basically said to them, "You breached the contract. I'm taking these clients. Take me to court if you want to. But remember,
Mm.
I'm a pretty good marketer. So let's
Yeah.
go ahead and be reasonable about what that storyline is going to look like." So they eventually parted ways with me, took my clients. I worked out of my basement for like 2 years. I was doing $100 a client a month. I know people are like, "Can you go back to that?" No, not anymore. But we were doing this. We were just coaching and consulting and trying to get them the network set up to go.
Yeah.
But my dream and my experience had always been to use that leverage to get them into other things. So you hit on the three silos. I started with coaching, training, conversations like this, giving people homework to make sure they know where they're going. The second silo then was when we talk about traditional marketing, that's everything to do with, business cards, billboards, street signs, sponsorship of local teams or youth baseball, that sort of thing. And then the third tenet that I moved into a couple years back was all digital advertising. So we do a lot of social media and SEO and website design and hosting and all the buzzwords. And so I think, at least in our region, I'm one of the true small business owners, small advertising firms directly tied and wanting to help small and medium businesses.
Mm.
And most people thought I was crazy. My own folks, until like year 10, thought this was a hobby until they're like, "Oh, you're actually supporting yourself." Okay. Um, and here we are, closer to 15 years and 2 locations later. So
Yeah.
that's my history.
Congratulations. That's wonderful. Yeah, because I moved downstairs in about 2010, and that's
Mm-hmm.
when you and I met. So, my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. And you have been there for me so many times when there's been emergency situations
Sure.
happening
Sure.
with other people who claim to do what you do and they weren't doing what they said they were going to do. So there are people out there that are not reputable and they don't stand behind their work, which has always been something that you do. You're always on top of the game and make things happen.
So
And
let me jump in for a second because I'm gonna go on one of my, I think, kind of funny diatribes, but hopefully it's useful for listeners. The reason why so many business owners of any size almost have this like recoil type of reaction when they hear the words marketing, advertising, and sales is for exactly what you hit on, honey. There
mhm,
are too many people now who claim to be, an actual web developer, or what really bothers me is when they say they're a marketing or advertising expert. So let me separate the two by telling a story. When I first moved out of like working out of my house, wanting to get in a physical location, I partnered with another local firm that also claimed to do marketing advertising. We had a good relationship. We were kind of indirect competitors, but we got along. We tried to switch work with each other. And as we got into some bigger projects, more and more of the background came up of what we did. And I know that we could have a whole different debate on the power of education and certificates and degrees, but that doesn't always sway me one way or other. It's your attitude, it's your work, experience you can bring to the table. That's what I'm looking for in another adult that wants to work with me.
mhm,
Well, this person I'm referencing to, super nice guy, but never really represented what he was until it came out one day during a big project that, like, not only did he have no education in this field whatsoever, but in order to start his business, he actually happened to be in the toilet sales business. And that's not even a joke. It was like he would be the guy that would go to the construction site, try to sell the stall doors or the toilets and stuff. And he made a pretty good living. He was a partner. And eventually, when I believe a bigger company came in and bought him out, he got paid. And so he's like, you know what I could really do? I can do websites. I can become a marketing, and that's
wow,
fine. But then as I worked with him, I noticed that the sales funnels, which are important, and again, a whole different session in itself, which you should have,
mhm,
were super aggressive, like in a way where you were expecting more no's and yeses, where the traditional advertising funnel does take a little bit longer. But if you're doing it right, you should get more yeses at higher levels or
mm,
higher pay rates than no's. And that's kind of been my experience, where I'm not the guy that full throttles through the sales process. I want to show you and build trust, and people stay on longer. So the point of my story is that in my, I'll call it short career, 15 years of running my own business or so,
mhm,
I have run into a lot of sales toilet people or toilet sales.
mm,
You know what I mean? And that's where
mm,
I think a lot of business owners who know they need marketing, they know they need advertising, they know that they need to be part of this and get their name out there, but they've run into the toilet salesperson
yep,
pretending, being a chameleon and saying, I'm a good marketer, I'm a good web
uh-huh,
person. And then it's not until you actually ask hard questions, credentials, experience, portfolios, that you're like, wait a minute, hold on 1 second here.
right. Need to
Something's not
check
right.
out the person you're working with beforehand and look at their reviews and
Yeah.
ask around and get
Yeah.
some get some
Well,
referrals.
I would, and I would even tell people, it's interesting because we have this trust but verified methodology kind of in our brains as adults, especially when you do reviews. I think it's hilarious. Like, look, I'm flattered somebody wants to give me a nice review, but I'm a marketing person. I do that for others. So, like, how
Yeah.
how do you not know? Like, I just hired 4 guys I know in California just to write me the most glowing, beautiful thing. And I have
Yeah.
seen that. I have not done this myself. I swear to you,
Yep.
but I have seen other competitors do stuff like that where they're
Mhm.
buying love,
Yep.
and so people go, "Oh, they must be a great marketer. They're a 4.9 out of 5." And it's like, no, you're gonna buy a toilet. So
Yeah.
I'll
And
get
then
off
there's
that topic.
people that will get angry because you're doing well, and they'll get
Oh
their
yeah,
friends and family to go write their
sure.
competitors a negative review. And those people have never even met that person
No,
and they just write something, and it's
yeah, and
being a
and so
business owner myself, it makes me insane. So,
you bring up a good example there, honey, because I think one thing people don't always realize is that when you're working with an advertising firm, especially if somebody says, "Hey, I'm a good branding agent" or
mhm,
whatever, there is truth. I won't say that these people are liars, but my mentality is always like when I have a client. So when I'm representing some of the work you do, for example, I'm also playing an unofficial defense counsel for you. Like I have to be aware of those situations, and I have to be able to see them come in real time and have a conversation with you on that.
Yeah.
What's happened is you have a lot of people who they maybe watch a YouTube video, or they get, I just had a meeting the other day, and this isn't even a joke. It was like, well, our marketing and our online was handled by, my sister's son, who's like a junior in high school, but is a rapid skateboarder, and they don't understand why it went off the and you're
Yeah.
just like,
They need a
vet your
professional.
candidates and understand, yeah, there's some money, there's some cost to have a company like me there,
Yeah.
but what's the cost that you're going to lose the
Yeah.
minute a fraudulent, and it will happen, it's not if, but when, a fraudulent review, comment, whatever shows up? What do you do then? Is that
Yeah.
16-year-old or that mega corporation that called you from 1-800 advertising in New York? What, you can't get a hold of your rep now? Well,
Yeah.
geez, who would have thought for, $25 a month they would have outstanding customer service? So
Right.
part of the onus and responsibility of this goes back to that consumer. I mean, just like when somebody comes in and talks to me, I'm interviewing them too, because if they don't understand what they're actually paying for, we don't have a partnership here. You
Yeah.
just will look for a reason to fight every number I send you. So
Mm.
vet carefully in both directions.
Right. Yeah, totally. And, you're very responsive. So I know that if I send you a text or email, I'm going to hear back. It's going to be professional. Mine are usually 2 words and yours are like 10 sentences. And I always giggle,
Yeah.
and, but they're always professional. They're always on the mark. You are just one of the most professional people I've met in this town. And, it's kind of sad to say for the number of people here, but most people are not that professional. And even if they're not professional, they still need marketing. They still need to grow their business. They still need, to network and do the things they do. So how do you help someone brand and grow their business?
There's 2 avenues that I ask people when they first come on as a client. One is, what is the actual story you want to tell? I don't care about the product or service yet, because what today's market is asking for is accountability. And the way you get to accountability is by showing, something like longevity of experience, safety numbers if you have a product you're selling, information if it's a family company. And I need to take just a 30-second sidebar to say that while our nation and our culture can really get on each other's nerves, every once in a while we come together for a good thing. And for those of you that are, say over 25 years of age listening to this, you'll probably remember this. But going back about 20 years, there was a terrible, terrible oil spill that was brought on by a BP pipeline that broke, right?
Mm,
Flooding the Gulf of Mexico, was affecting New Orleans, it was affecting the river system. It got really bad.
mm,
That was the first time where it didn't matter what side you were on. We had the infancy of social media, and hard-hitting questions came out of this, like, where's the CEO? Where's the guy who should be trying to get there? And of course, it takes our media putting pressure on the Australian media to find out that he's on this beautiful multi-million-dollar yacht. He's in some
mm,
yachts and stuff. And you know what? I actually defended him initially because people were like, well, look what he's doing. Well, first of all, he was on vacation. Like, all that was above board. Where I started to digress and where social media came in is, and they said, get your butt on a plane. You have a private, airplane. Get to the U.S., get on site and take control of this mess. And he opted not to. He opted to, oh, I'm
mm.
fine down here. They'll take care of it. He did show up, but it was like a month or a month and a half later.
Oh my
What
gosh.
had happened during that, let's call it 60-day period of, I'm not really coming back to what I showed up, was a lot of some social media people saying, in order to be accountable, to be trustworthy, you need to be accessible. And so
Mm,
now when I'm helping the story tell and get to the brand that you want the public to know about, the first thing again we go is, who's your owner? Okay, it's Honey. Honey, do you have a picture and a bio? Because we're going to put that on your website, and we're also going to share that on your social media. If you run into a client like I have on more than one occasion that says, I really don't want to, I don't need to be the face of this, but then you're not going to build trust, right? I
mhm.
mean, it's gotten so important that CEOs, and this, check me on any of this, look at what the Target CEO is doing, look at what Coca-Cola is doing. Part of their contract is that they actually have to go out in the public. Part of the contract is they have to have their contact information available, even if it goes to their secretary, because not a federal law, not a state law, not a county law, but this is kind of the law of the internet that says, hey, we need to know, Michelle, if something goes wrong, how do we get a hold of you? So that's where branding starts. The bridge I want to get you to the second part is infotainment. You need to be informative and somewhat entertaining to get people to buy it. And I don't mean to be flippant or rude to anybody who has medical issues, but I diagnose with almost everybody. It's called technology ADD. We are so, as adults, I'm not even talking about kids, and I'm not going to get into those that do harm, but generally speaking, more and more people, especially say between 35 and 65, we're using our phones a lot more. You're seeing the scroll rates go up. You're seeing more condensed messaging. So you better grab somebody's attention, whether you're going to become the TikTok attorney or you're going to do more of the melancholy, like serious business, accounting reporting that you might put on LinkedIn. You have to stay consistent with that, and you have to be informative. If we're getting somebody to, laugh or cry or feel some sort of emotion, you're 10 times, this is psychology, 10 times more likely to retain what that person or message is saying compared to somebody just says, oh, I sell buns, come buy them.
Yeah. And I think that's why when I did my website many years ago, which it's time to redo, but I put the video on there. I really wanted a video that told my story a little bit so that people could see what I had been through and see my compassion. And you can't see that from a still, and you can't see that from a bio. You might say, oh yes, I've been through divorce too, da 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 da. But what does that mean? But with my story, my video on there, which is outdated, it needs to be redone because it's, it's like 10 years old now, and that's something too, you got to stay up to date, and I'm not. So shame on me. Shame on me.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't we take the next 15 minutes? I got her site right here. Let's go over some numbers.
No, please don't. It's bad.
First of all, where did you get that hair? Oh no, that's from.
Oh gosh, yeah. So at least I don't have like Farrah Fawcett wings or something in that one. But if you want to grow a $1 million business, you got to invest some time and money in getting your story and your branding straight. Because I know, like, even myself, I've kind of like, well, do I want to go with this color scheme and this logo, or do I want to go with that one? And it's kind of whimsical, like from decade to decade. And you really need to start something. Like been reading a lot about Truett Cathy and the founder of Chick-fil-A. And I've watched several videos of him, his CEO, which is his son, his grandson, who's coming up through the company. I think he's like a president or vice president or something. And they tell the same story. I started getting really redundant. I was like, don't they know something else? Give us some more tidbits, But no, they have it down to a science. Like the whole company tells the exact same story. And they dress in the same colors and they have the same mannerisms. And it's like they're cloned or something, but it's consistency. So over the decades, they have grown this great franchise, this great corporation, and the consistency has grown with it. So as they developed who they are, they've stuck with it. It's not like, oh, this week we're going to wear purple shirts and next week we're going to wear red ones or whatever. It's consistency. There's dedication and consistency to this brand, and it's not changing. And if it does, it's minute changes and it's across the board.
And they, giving them credit, given some of the adversity they've gone through, I think for the most part, they've handled it well. I think you could say the same thing about a lot of the major hotel chains, Hilton, Marriott. The reason why people still stay at these locations, albeit, at one point we got very disjointed. So another side history advertising bit, but when you were in the 80s and even the 90s, you were a Marriott loyalty person. You were a Hilton, like this is what you did. You stayed there. As we got into 2000s, the internet opened up. It was less about loyalty, but something happened during COVID. So between really 2020 and 2022, we recoiled into this. We want to feel comfortable again. We want to make it easy. And so they've actually seen a lot of these loyalty programs, especially in the travel industry, almost reignite itself because somebody's like, you know what? when I go to a Spring Hill Suites, it doesn't matter if I do it in Bloomington, Indiana, Port Angeles, Washington, Miami, Florida. The design's the same, the beds are the same. I feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of plug into what you're saying about Chick-fil-A, one argument could be made, they almost stole the same idea from Best Buy when Best Buy was as powerful, right? I mean, who would think mandating everybody wearing khakis and blue shirts with yellow font, it's so unassuming. It's not intrusive when you walked in as a customer.
Mm-hmm.
They were taught early on to be good customer service reps. You approach the people, you talk to them, answer questions, cell phones, and they had their reign. Now they're rebranding too. Obviously, with online shopping, it's different. But the point of my rambling is to say this is like, we need to make you feel comfortable. We need you entertained. We need you, have good information. And the last thing I'll add to all this for any of the business owners listening, one of the questions I would ask you is, what are you doing to be selflessly selfish? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What I
Yes.
mean by that is you should be looking out for yourself and the interest of your company, but you should also want to help the community around you. And that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly why I started formulating and working. My soft spot in my heart was helping people with disabilities. This
Mm-hmm.
was like a no-brainer for me to do. I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying it was necessarily cheap, because there was time and money I had to put in to start these things, but to see the impact that it has now a decade and a half later is wonderful. But what that's done for me and my company, the
Mm-hmm.
amount of exposure I've gotten at these
Yeah.
events, the
Yeah.
amount of opportunity people say, hey, you may want to talk to me after we're done. We just did a big 5K, or it's called the
Mm-hmm.
Buddy. We just did it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had 500 people and it was a crappy day, but they came out because the same board members were there, the same activities. I was the MC again. So if you keep things where they're comfortable, it makes you look good. It makes
Yeah.
people go, I get the brand. That's why you should work with Honey. Was that the point
Yeah.
of your question? I think
Well,
so.
I think that was excellent. You did a great
Yeah.
job. I love it. And I think the point that you're making is really important for any business owner, is that you do have some local connection. And again, I go back to Chick-fil-A, who they are involved in everything local. I
Yeah.
mean, Chick-fil-A is all over the place. And it's Chick-fil-A when you see it's Chick-fil-A. It's like there's no confusion. You know exactly who it is. You know that they're contributing, they're donating, and they're, years ago when I was doing Girl Scouts, I was a Girl Scout leader. I contacted Chick-fil-A and they donated some stuff for a party
Yeah.
thing that we were doing. They just needed a advance notice or whatever. And any big company is going to see the value in giving back to the community, because it does more than just suck up your time and money. The return on it is 10 to 100 fold. Because if you give, then you receive. And the initial investment can be, taxing at times, but it does come back to, especially if your heart's in the right place. And, I've always seen that yours is. And even when you're doing stuff and you say, oh, hey, we're doing this event, I'm always right there to champion you and get a ticket and come,
Yep.
because I know you mean well. And as a friend, I know that this is important to you. And as part of the community, I know that, it's giving back. And, if all I have to do is come and support you, that's easy for me. I have fun and I get to see friends, and it makes total sense for your business, because your business, if you're hiding somewhere, no one's going to see you.
Yeah.
And if you're the CEO or president, no one's going to get to know you. Because I can tell you, I've been in networking groups where I've gotten to know people who are founders, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do business with them. But then there's others, and you go, oh my gosh, I didn't understand they were so cool. I'm going to go check out their products. And,
Right.
and the other big thing that I noticed for branding, like with Chick-fil-A, is the customer service. And I can't stress that enough to people, how important customer service is. And, the customer still is king. And I mean, your team is king, your team is important. I mean, the whole thing is important, but, if you're not treating your customers well, you can say, you can have a great story, you can have great colors, you can have great business cards and all these things. But if you're not treating your customers well, people are going to quit coming. And no
Yeah.
amount of dollars for marketing is going to help you.
100%.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge I usually have is somebody's like, well, the metaphor of get them to my front door. But there's been more than one time where it's like, I'm getting the villagers up to the castle door to knock on it for
Yeah.
you, and you're not answering. If you
Yeah.
do, you're turning them away. And it's like, at that point, that was an important lesson I had to learn with my own growth, which is at some point you have to be able to rationally, with facts, say, you know what, this isn't a Lambert Consulting issue anymore, and here's why. because we had these many people interact with your post. We can see through Google Analytics this many people try calling you or Google mapping you and trying to get to your location. I can't prove what happens after that. What I can prove to you is that these actions took place, they were presented to you, what you did or your team did to then capture or invite them in. That's not what you're paying me for. And that's where people, I think, really lose touch with, oh, that's a marketing thing and advertising. No, that's really a sales thing. And you should have a sales pipeline put together. If you don't, call me. We can get this set up for you. But beyond that, it's one of those things where it's your sales team should be butting up nicely and following in tandem what advertising, messaging, and that selfishness attitude you're pushing out is going to do.
Yeah. And it's hard when you're a small business like myself, because if I'm in a meeting or I'm in court or I'm in mediation or my kid is sick or whatever the heck it is, sometimes I can't answer the phone till later that day or the next morning. But I do. But now everybody's got this instant attitude like, well, they didn't answer immediately, so I don't want to work with them. I'm going to call the next person down the line, which is really sad, because then a small business has to hire someone for $400 or $500 a month to answer the phone all the time, and they may not have the budget for that. And so all this stuff gets kind of pricey, but in the long run, if you don't spend the money, don't make any money.
100%. That's a positive note to go on. Like, don't expect just because you or your skaterboard nephew, look at that's called a comedy comeback for your kid. A callback, I should say. Just posting does not make money for you. It's telling a story. There is a method to the way you should be rolling out. There's a reason why your company, or maybe even you as the leader, should have 2 or 3 social media pages telling the same story slightly differently for each audience that's accepting and reading it, but tell the story per week and then change it up each week. It's the same reason why some of our favorite authors, when they write the book, it's still a message, right? They're still creating this environment. Do the same thing, but on the business scale. Make it interesting, make it compelling, and get people to come do business with you.
We have 2 minutes, so give me the tips and tricks to growing $1 million business through marketing. What are the 3 or 4 main things someone needs to do? Summarize that.
Get in front of not clients, get in front of your local community. Sponsor whatever you're comfortable sponsoring, and make sure that your name is on the back of t-shirts, whether it's for sports or in a playbill, if it's for a high school play. Get your name out there, and then that leads to number 2. Highlight that is part of your responsibility of the storytelling, to say, I'm a good citizen of this community. I am trying to help you. Here's how I've spent my money. You don't have to tell every cost, but do it. Number 3, get your network grown, both by leveraging what you can do online, as well as possible networking or business meetings that are in your region. And I'd say 4th, make sure you have good storytelling. I'm sorry to have to keep repeating that, but don't be boring. Don't lie, and entertain us. God, it's not that hard. We're naturally funny, entertaining people. Just entertain. And by the way, if you're one of those people that's got like 85 cats and hate human beings, it's probably not for you anyways. Don't blame
Well, they need a business where they don't interact directly with the public. They need to do that. More of a person who does something behind the scenes. And that doesn't mean they can't find someone to do their advertising or be the face of their business, or, whatever. Well, this has just been fun and exciting as usual.
Thanks for having me. You can get me at lambertconsulting.biz, Andrew at lambertconsulting.biz, mindyourbusiness.com. Look for me. All my comedy stuff's on Andrew Lambert on Facebook, Social with Lambert. Look Lambert up. We are the place to be.
And we'll put the links in the bottom they can find you. And you can help anybody, anywhere.
Anybody.
Grow that business. Make millions.
Lambert. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Millions of dollars with Adam. I said Adam. Okay. Messed up. So I almost said Adam Lambert.
I know. Well, you did. And that's what I chopped. I was about to tell you, that would be the best ending if you just said that and just like chopped it off. Oh my God, that was making me laugh. I was like, Tell me we don't have to redo it.
I don't, because you were telling me, you mentioned his name earlier, and I had completely forgot about him. And then I always think about the other actor, the actor that did Highlander.
Oh, Christopher.
Yeah, I always think of him.
Christopher Lambia. Yep,
Yeah,
the
always think
Highlander.
him. Always think the Highlander. So, anyways, I didn't want to cut you off with you going.
That's okay. That sounds like the end of every one of my conversations. So me feel like a stroke is about to happen.
Oh goodness! Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you. You're awesome
Yeah,
and amazing.
thank you.
And since we do have a couple extra more minutes, is there anything else you wanted to say before we actually say goodbye?
I'm not Adam Lambert. I'm Andrew Lambert, and I'll leave you with this. This is one of the first jokes I ever wrote, because ever since he came out in American Idol 10 plus years ago, he's done some successful stuff. But I swear to you, even today, people say, "Thank you, Adam." Dear Adam, even though my signature line, my name's Andrew. So I've come up with a way to try to help people differentiate the two of us. One of us is a extremely talented singer, songwriter, performer, award-winning musician. He sings with Queen, while the other one of us looks great in blue shirts and assless chaps. So, that's hopefully you'll be able to remember when you see me, I am not the singer.
I don't, that put a vision in my head that might be seared there.
I will. Let me, since you enjoyed that one, I'll tell a true story about comedy. Now, I'm not a nationwide comic, anything. I like doing it locally and helping nonprofits, and I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by way more talented people. But I did do that joke outside of Bloomington, and at the end of the show, some guy came up to me and was making pleasantries. Hey, and he goes, I gotta say something about one of your jokes. I said, what's that? And he said, the assless chap ones. I said, oh, did you like it? And he said, no, I have a friend that's a leathersmith, and he really takes exception to that, because that's not what they're really meant for. They're not used that way. And I said, well, is your friend here? And he said, no. And then I said, I don't care. And I walked away. So, stop bothering me about nonsense. That's a great joke. It stands.
Well, everybody has opinions, right?
Go. The guy never reported anything, so it's like, all right, well, tell your friend to contact me. We'll do a whole assless chaps joke off then for a little while, see what happens. So it has been a pleasure being here.
Thanks.
Thank you for letting me yammer on. To everybody that tuned in and listened, thank you so much. I love what I do. I've been very fortunate. And work hard and be nice. Just be nice to people. Come on, I know things are rough, but calm down. Take a breath. Let's do better as a society.
Yep. Awesome. Well, you're amazing. And I appreciate you. And thanks for your time, and have a great rest of your day.
And who are you signing off with? I am
not the singer, the guy that has assless chaps.
Perfect. That's it, everybody. Good night, everybody.
All right, bye. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.